If you are new to astrology, you need to know that there are only some planets that are important for you to look at when starting off. You do not need to read about every single aspect, and if you do so, you're probably going to find that you are overwhelmed and most of it sounds inaccurate. So in this video, I'm going to break down the planets that you need to look at if you are new to astrology and just reading your birth chart, and why some planets are more important than others. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Isabelle and I help you understand who you are using personality typing and astrology. I do this because I was the person who did not understand themselves for the life of them, and I didn't know what I wanted, so I constantly felt frustrated and confused and lost in my direction in life. Then I discovered my birth chart, the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, and so much more, and for the first time in my life, I knew who I was. And so now I'm here to teach you about these things so you can understand yourself too, understand these things, systems as well, and enjoy the process. Now, before I dive into this whole talk about the important planets in a birth chart, if you're new to astrology, hit the link in the description below to get your very own My Horoscope Made Me Do It hoodie, available now. Link is in the description below. Grab yours. These are the comfiest hoodies ever, seriously. So I was recently talking to someone who is more new to astrology, and I was breaking down a chart for him. And as I was going through it, he noticed that I was saying, okay, so this one's important, but don't pay attention to that. And he would ask me, like, okay, well, what about Neptune? And I was saying, that's not important right now. And he was wondering, why are some planets more important than others? And commonly when we get into astrology, I did this too, when I got into astrology, you read every single aspect in your chart. After all, the second you pull your chart, you usually get a very lengthy, what seems like ebook on what your chart is. And this is extremely overwhelming. So in this video, I'm going to briefly cover what to pay attention to in your chart if you are new to astrology, and what aspects to avoid and why it is. So when you get into astrology, chances are you might be getting into astrology because you were talking with a friend or someone and they said, what's your sign? Or even more so, they might have said, do you know your big three? And to people new to astrology, they have no clue what you're talking about. I guess I was born in September. I don't know what that means though. So the first sign you want to pay attention to if you're very new to astrology would be most likely your sun sign. The sun sign implies that where the sun was at your moment of birth, and the sun changes signs roughly every 30 days. The sun sign will show you what your general tendencies are. It'll tell you your general personality traits and your general values for life, as the sun dictates what we are looking for out of life. The thing is, when you read your sun sign, you will likely say, that's pretty accurate, but it'll also lead to you feeling like astrology is dogmatic. I know I felt like this personally when I looked into astrology, and so I felt like astrology wasn't accurate. So you're going to briefly want to cover what your sun sign is and what that means you value. I have a whole series on our channel covering the sun through the signs, so go watch that later if you want to dive more into your sun sign. But singularly, what might possibly be the singular most important aspect to look at in your chart is the next one you'll read, which is your moon sign. Your moon sign will probably feel like a wake-up call when you read it. And as a side note, it's probably important that you know a general estimate time of your birth. I mean, the more accurate of a time you know, the better. But knowing the general time of birth will maybe impact what your sign your moon is in, which will change, of course, the accuracy. Because if you know your time of birth, it's more likely your moon will be in the right sign. And that is because the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So it's very unique to your day and time of birth. The moon in astrology shows your emotions. It shows the things that you need for emotional fulfillment, the part of you that you hold closest to your heart and protect from the world, and it shows what your emotional patterns tend to be. So when you read your moon sign, you're probably going to be like, whoa, that is me. Because when I read my moon sign, I had the same feeling. So pay a lot of attention to your moon sign because it's going to show you what your emotions are and what you need for emotional fulfillment in the part of you that you hold closest to you and try to keep safe from the world. Next, you have Mercury, and you'll want to pay attention to this one because it shows you how your mind works. It basically shows you what your thought process is and how you learn best. It's very simple to summarize each of these planets. I have video series on all these major planets, the Sun, Moon, and Mercury, and Venus and Mars, which are the other two you're going to pay attention to. So Venus shows you what your love language is, in short. It shows you, for women, it's the energy we want to embrace as a feminine energy. And for men, it tends to be the energy you guys are attracted to in a woman. So it'll show you some of your attractions. And it also shows you, though, for both sides, both men and women, how you want to show love in your relationship. Mars is the planet of action. So for women, we tend to be attracted to men who have a lot of our Mars sign qualities. So for example, if you had a Mars in Scorpio, you want a man who has a lot of Scorpio qualities. And for men, they want to embrace their Scorpio or their Mars in their relationship. They want to hold that masculine energy. For both sides, Mars shows how you take action. And this will likely resonate for you because you're going to be like, wow, that's totally how I act in life. I know when I read my Mars, I was shocked. Those are the planets that you'll want to pay attention to. Your Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, and Mercury. If you want to learn a little more, I would tell you to look at your North Node and your rising, because your North Node is your highest path to growth in this lifetime, and it'll show you a lot about what your struggles have been in life and why that is, because turns out you have some astrological karma to overcome. Again, I have a whole series on the North Node through the signs. And opposite of the North Node is the South Node. These will come as a pair when you read about them. So read about the North Node and South Node as well. And then you have your rising, which is the personality you show up as when people first meet you. It can give you a lot of insight knowing your rising to see how people first see you and what their first impression of you is and how that differs from what you're truly like. So learning about your rising, maybe you have a rising sign of Scorpio and people see you as intense and mysterious, but you have a moon sign of Cancer, which means at your core, you're just soft and sensitive. Looking at the rising can tell you why you might feel that people misunderstand you or misinterpret you often. But in short, those are the only aspects you want to pay attention to when you're first going into your birth chart. Some other aspects in your chart that you probably don't want to pay attention to are, when starting off, are your Saturn and Jupiter, because they are pretty beneficial to know. They can help you navigate life, but they will not really necessarily tell you, they will not add to what feels like your personality in many ways. You won't read that and think, oh, that's so me. It is good to incorporate Saturn and Jupiter later because Saturn is how you act responsible and Jupiter is how you let loose and expand more, expand your capacity. Neptune and Uranus are much more collective generational planets because they don't move signs as often. So same with Saturn in many ways, because Saturn only moves planet or signs, I believe, every 2 years, and Uranus moves signs every 7 years, and Neptune moves signs every 14 years. So basically, these are much more about collective tendencies, and they're not going to show up as personally for you. And then we have Pluto, which I'm pretty sure, I might be getting this number wrong, I will admit, but Pluto, I think, moves only every 80 years through signs. So the point is, those planets are all less personal to your chart and much less about what makes you unique. So you do not need to look at those planets when starting off. And you'll likely, when you pull your chart, get a whole list of all your houses. And you'll read the rising, which is your first house, also known as your ascendant, because that'll show you, again, how you show up to people on your first impression. But all the other houses are much more relevant for people who are ready to dive deep into their chart. So in conclusion, look at your Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, and North Node. And do not look at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. One other aspect that is popular in a chart that I could say that was very impactful for me to look at was my Black Moon Lilith, and I just wrapped up a series covering Lilith, so you can learn more about it there. I have videos covering all of these major planets right now. If you do not see what you're looking for, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to film a video on it shortly. But hopefully, if you're new to astrology, hopefully this gave you a good starting point and have helped you overcome the overwhelm of learning about your chart. Let me know if this video helped you in the comments below. And while you're down there, if you're new to astrology and you're trying to make sure you don't get overwhelmed by reading your chart and you want to learn more about yourself and how astrology can help you, then hit the link in the description below to get the free birth chart workbook, which is full of journal prompts that I've personally used to actually start applying the information of my chart to live in alignment with it. The birth chart workbook is free and it takes less than 15 minutes to do thing, and it helps you understand each of these basic planets that I've mentioned that you should learn about. So that's in the link in the description below. Grab it now. If you love workbooks and courses and you want to learn more about astrology, mindfulness, self-development, and so much more, get the Making Mindfulness Fun Bundle in the link in the description below, where we have all 30 of our workbooks and courses available for only $30. That's an insane deal. I know, I'm crazy. So grab it now before I realize how crazy I am and stop having it available. This has all of our workbooks and courses on chakras, astrology, Enneagram, basic mindfulness, mindfulness for all ages, including kids and teens and adults, and so much more. Link is in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope it helped you. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down astrology. Once again, my name is Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.